Hello everyone. Today I'm going to give you the three things I have learned about productivity throughout my first 2 years of being an engineering student. Now a little bit about me. So my name is Tony Pham, as you can see on the screen here. I am a second year engineering student, currently an electrical engineering student, and throughout the past 2 years of being an engineering student, I have really tuned in on my efficiency and productivity rather than brute forcing and purely focusing on the output that I can put out, which is what I used to do back when I was in high school. I was just focusing on getting as much work done as I can, always being busy all the time because it was something that sort of boosted my ego. But yeah, for the past 2 years, I've really worked on just being an efficient and work smarter rather than harder type of student. And you can see in the results here, I am a consistent high distinction and distinction student. This is 2024, my first engineering year, and this is 2025, my second engineering year. You can see the grades are pretty damn good. And I did not study that much throughout the 2 years, and I don't think there was ever a period where I excessively burnt out. Obviously, there were times where you had to do, little sprints and little lock-in sessions where you study a bit more than you usually would, probably 4 to 5 hours sessions if you're really tired afterwards. But for the vast majority of the year, I was studying about only 2 to 3 hours a day, which was very easy to achieve. This is a picture of me receiving a first year engineering student award. This is specifically the P.W. Stevens Engineering Prize. Back when I was doing mechanical engineering, and I received this award for being the highest GPA scoring student of my cohort, which is pretty sick. So that's some credibility for you to, I guess, to start trusting me. So let's get straight into it. The first rule is the 80-20 rule, and this rule states that 80% of the result comes from 20% of the work or effort that you put in. Relating this to school or university, you're going to think about what actually matters, what truly moves the needle forward in tasks that you're planning to do. For me, it was always throughout university, it was always just to work on the tutorials throughout the semester, because I know that the problems in there are very similar to the type of problems that will be tested in the exams or the tests. And obviously doing practice tests and practice exams, because they are literally what prepares you for your final exams. Now, a tip I would like to give you is when you're in revision mode, when you're approaching revision season, you do not want to do anything other than simply doing practice exams and practice tests, because guess what? They prepare you directly for the test, because the types of questions don't change. You do the same types of questions and you will see them in the exam. The exact same type of questions. Maybe they'll change a few numbers here and there, but you'll see that it's essentially the same question. What you don't want to do is you don't want to look through your notes, look through your lecture notes and highlighting them, making them look pretty because you think, oh, I would actually study more if my notes look nice. That is not what you want to do. You're gonna want to spend your time, and this is another tip I want to give you, practicing active recall. Now, what active recall is you are trying to actively retrieve a piece of information from your brain that you have been exposed to prior. When you're looking at your lecture notes, this is passive recall. You are being exposed to that piece of information from an external source. So you'd feel like, oh, excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze. Oh my days. So when you're looking at your lecture notes, you're thinking that you have retrieved the information, but this is you doing it passively because you are being exposed to by an external source, aka the lecture notes. What you want to do is you want to do the actual practice problems, the problem sets, the practice test and exam where you are forced to retrieve the information by yourself internally, so that once you do that, it is so much easier for the information that you have just retrieved to be stored in your long-term memory. So yes, the 80-20 rule and also this active recall tech that I just showed you is a cheat code in university, especially in engineering. The practice test and exam specifically is something that you should heavily abuse throughout university. I don't think it's gonna be patched anytime soon. Every time exam season comes, I get so happy because I know I don't have to study that much at all and still do crazy good in exams, because all I do is just do the practice exams, the 20% of the work, which gets me 80% of the results, if not 100%. So that's the 80-20 rule. Moving on to the next tip I have for you, and this might sound obvious, but you have to plan and schedule your days. You never want to freestyle your days, because how your brain works is it is designed to always take the easiest path to conserve energy. You should never trust your brain. When you don't plan your days right, when the time comes where you think you have to do some work, your brain will tell you, oh, you're a bit too tired, let's take some rest, let's scroll on Instagram, that's something that's easier to do at this moment. Because your brain does not want to do hard work. It usually doesn't. The rare instances that it does want to do hard work, I don't know, the 1% out of your life, that's not enough to get you the progress and the productivity that you need. So you always want to create a plan or a schedule that you can follow, and you want to make this quite specific. You don't want to just make it vague, like let's say today from 1 to 3 p.m. I am gonna study. You don't want to just put studying down. What you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to specify what you are gonna study. Let's say I'm gonna study some maths, and you're gonna specify what you are gonna do in the maths. Let's say I'm gonna do practice exam or the past exam 2014, let's say. So you're gonna want to be very specific with your plan or your schedule, so that when the time comes, you know exactly what you have to do. And this also ties in with a concept called decision fatigue, where if you are making these micro decisions throughout your day, you're gonna think they are not something that's so significant that you're gonna have to think about, but throughout your day they accumulate, the decisions they add up, and you're gonna feel mentally fatigued without knowing what the problem is. And the problem is decision fatigue. So planning and scheduling your days really helps with this. And once you have a plan to follow, you are more likely to achieve it. Studies have shown that you are 42% more likely to achieve your goals once you have set them out, once you have them written. So just something for you guys to know. Another tip I want to give you is to eat the frog first when you are planning your days. So what does this mean? I know this sounds kind of goofy, but eating the frog first is, let's say you are being given a frog and a very delicious meal, and I tell you, you can either eat the frog first, you can suffer now, and then all you're gonna think about for the rest of the day is eating that delicious meal that you are very excited about. Now most people, what they'll do is they'll eat the delicious meal first because that is the easier thing to do. But the problem with that is, once you have done that, the rest of your day are going to be spent just overthinking and dreading about the fact that you're going to have to eat the frog. Now, sooner or later, you're going to have to do it. And that's the problem with most students. When they start their day, when they plan their days, they're going to try to do the easier tasks first because they think, I should just get myself into the groove of working. So I'll do the easier task to get myself working, and I'll do the harder task later. The problem with that is they'll do the easier task, and just like I said with the example, they'll just overthink about, oh, I have this crazy difficult task that I have to do throughout the day. And another problem with that is they won't be able to do the easier task as efficiently, because as they're doing it, the harder task that they will have to do later on still lingers within their mind. So it's a lose-lose situation. You have something that's super hard for you to do later on, and while you are doing the easier task, you are also thinking about it. So that's not good. So always, when you plan or schedule the days, always try to eat the frog first. And I know that it might seem very hard to do the first task as the first thing in your day, but trust me, the friction that you experience is only about actually starting the task. Even if the task is very hard, once you have started it, it's actually quite easy to keep going. You know, it's like riding a bike. If you guys have ever ridden a bike, it feels really hard to get the bike going, but once you have gotten it going, it's super easy to keep it going. So why don't we apply this to the hard task that we have to do first thing in our day? So that's the second tip. Always plan and schedule your days. The third tip that I'll give you is or and not and. So let's say you have tried scheduling your days, you've planned it to perfection, and then during your day something comes up. Okay, that's perfectly fine. Let's say someone asks you, okay Tony, let's hang out, let's drink some coffee. If that comes up, I don't look at it and I say, oh, I can do this new task and I can still stick to my schedule, I can still get everything else done. Because 99% of the time that never happens. You are going to be behind on what you do or what you plan to do. So what you want to do is you're going to say, oh, I can do this new task that has come up, or I can stick to my original schedule and get that done. And unless you're absolutely certain that you can do both, let's say the things that you have planned in your schedule, it's super easy. I don't know, let's say it's like checking your emails and just I don't know, something super easy, right, that you're sure that you can do, then yeah, sure, you can go drink that coffee with your friend and still get this done, assuming that that's the only task you have left in your day, so you know that you can 100% still keep up with your schedule without any problems at all. Then yeah, you can add this new task. But for the 99% of the time, you're gonna want to stick to the or statement, where you are choosing either the new task or the original thing that's gonna help you stick to your schedule. And what you're gonna realize is once you start rejecting these new tasks and the new commitments that you plan to do, it's gonna feel bad, right? Because you're like, oh, I can't do everything that I plan to do or I want to do. It's gonna feel bad at first, obviously, but then in the long run, what you'll realize is it'll free up so much of your mental space, and you're actually gonna start feeling good about yourself. You're gonna feel good internally that you are sticking to your plan, you are achieving your goals, and it's like this almost placebo effect where you are realizing that you're sticking to your goals, you're being productive because you're sticking to your schedule, so that in the long run you're gonna feel less bad about saying no to these things and going with the or statement. And that was the three things that I have learned throughout my first 2 years of university that has helped me become a much more productive student, a much more efficient student, as opposed to the old me back in high school where I would just focus on being busy all the time because that's what I felt was productive. And that's all for this video. I hope you will go and implement these tips into your life as a student and see your productivity skyrocket. That's all for me. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.